really. The 3-day one I'll probably keep time just to make sure. And if it seems like it's short, then you know, say something, but you want to aim for like 15.
What do you think?
Are there any questions about the activities or anything that might help clarify decisions you need to make?
Thank you. I call them my hugs because they're my hand hugs.
Very nice. No? Do all of the groups have days picked?
Yep. Yes.
Did I hear a no?
No.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna rewind this for a minute.
I think we're.
Okay, I'm going to ask which groups want to go on which date, so have one person from your group raise a hand if you would like to go on that date. 11:20, which groups want to go on 11:20? That's
Okay.
okay, so group 4 and group 3. So we've got groups 3 and 4 on the 20th, groups 2, 5, and 7 on the 22nd. So that's going to be our really tight day. So these groups, you got to be with it. You got to have real with itness, transitioning really quickly in between. And then on the 25th, the last day of class, we'll have groups 1 and 6. Sound like a plan? Okay, I'm going to take a picture for my notes. I'll post this up on Blackboard as well. Okay, so the other thing that we have on schedule for today is talking about the rubric for these activities, the co-teaching activities. So one of the things that I had asked you to do for today was to review, to read over some of the rubrics for this class. How many people did that? Okay, a couple, 4 people. Okay, so I'm going to take some time now to go over one of the rubrics as a class, since not many people came to class with that. So the first rubric that we'll look at here is the portfolio rubric. So this is a rubric that I'm going to use to grade you when you submit your portfolios for this class. What is the first thing you notice about this portfolio rubric?
It's thorough.
Okay, it's thorough. How do you see that it's thorough? What looks like thoroughness to you?
There's just like a lot of explanation with what defines each category. It's not like drawn and left like for.
Okay, yeah, so on that kind of lower part there, with the different standard levels, it doesn't just say week. It says, like, this is what week means in this case. What else? What does someone else notice about this?
There's partial kind of like different categories. It's not just like all or nothing.
Yeah, so it could have been that for writing mechanics, you could get 8 points, you could get 0 points. But here, it's actually, you could get 8, you could get 6, you could get 4, depending on how much you do for that. Any other things that you notice about this rubric? Have you seen rubrics in other classes before?
I've never seen keywords.
You've never seen the keywords?
Or an introduction.
Or an introduction. Either of these two things.
Yep.
This is something that I'm starting to do more of. So I noticed that another teacher was doing this, and then when we co-taught together, we started doing more rubrics like this together. So I've started doing more of this. I kind of like it. So the first thing that it starts off with is Bloom's taxonomy. Do you remember when we were talking about Bloom's taxonomy? Right? It was on the exam. Those levels of learning, or the levels of assessments, like to what extent are you dealing with a particular topic? I like including that on there because it gives you a sense of like what are the skills that you need to do to build up to this activity. These sections underneath break down the portfolio and gives me, as the grader, a kind of structure for how I can grade. Right? Has anyone ever had the teacher where they write like an A on your paper and or a B plus and you're like, I don't even know how I got this? Yeah? Yeah. That's why I personally like rubrics. It's good for students because then you have a very clear framework of what to work from. You know what the expectations are. You can use it as a checklist. Anything that's helpful for you. It's also helpful for me because I know clearly what I'm grading on and what I'm not. Like, one thing that's not in my rubrics is, did you pass it in on time? Because we talked about that, right? Quality over timeliness. So what I want us to do now that we kind of have some of that knowledge built up, I want us to design the components for your all's rubric for the co-teaching activity. So, as I had said in the last class, this is something I've done before. I've really enjoyed it because I think it's great to have your all's feedback in the rubric so that we know that everyone's clear on these are the expectations, but also that I can grade you on the things that you feel like are important. So one thing that I thought would be helpful for us to go back to for today were these right here. Does anyone remember what this is? Derek? What is this?
It's the list of things that we thought of teachers that were effective teachers or qualities in teaching.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This was the list that our class, Section 4, came up with in terms of characteristics, skills, or things that they're doing in the class that makes them effective teachers. So I want us to pull out the ones that we think you could do. Realistically, in 20 minutes, you're all novice, right? Real novice. Some of you don't even want to be teachers, so we're all really novice teachers. What are the things that you think you could demonstrate in a 20-minute activity? Let's start here.
Enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm. Can you tell me more about that one? Why is that one really important?
I mean, in any presentation that you make for any class, you need to have some sort of enthusiasm to keep your audience, like, attentive. But even as a teacher, you need to have enthusiasm so the students are attentive. So it's just go along with presenting and be excited about the topic that you're talking about.
Yeah, so if I taught the class and I kind of talked like this the whole time, that would probably be, what, like really boring? And yeah. Yeah, so having some kind of enthusiasm, right? People like that one. Okay, I'll do more of that. Okay, what else? What else? Yes?
Structure and flexibility.
Structure and flexibility. Tell me more.
Like, we should have like a set plan of what we're gonna do for the entire 20 minutes, but like also have it so like we kind of know what we're doing, you know, so we're not just up there like, I don't know what to do.
Right. So having some kind of set plan in place, having a structure. What about that flexibility part?
Letting it like be able to like mold to like whatever class you're teaching, kind of, so like they kind of make it themselves even though there's like a structure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe being context conscious, right? If we think back to Milner, that could involve some flexibility. I'll tell you, I just had a moment of flexibility, right? When I asked the question of how many people had reviewed the rubrics, and then I knew, because there weren't many people who had reviewed them, that I would need to go really in depth in looking at the rubrics. So I already had it planned, right? That we were going to look at some of the rubrics. So that was part of my structure. but I knew that the level of depth would have to be different, so I could change it in that way, recognizing whatever happens, whatever people come to the class with.